Hi everyone, welcome back to Capacities and welcome to release 68. This is a bit of a different video setup today because this release is all about mobile. We have essentially rebuilt the app from the ground up, both from what you see and also what's going on behind the scenes. So as you can see, looking at this app, it already looks fresher and more modern. And not only does it look better, it also performs better. So if you've had any performance issues with mobile in the past, they should be fixed now, and using it should be a whole lot more fun as a result. You'll see on whatever page you're on that this floating bar stays at the bottom, and then at the top you always have your navigation and the 3-dot menu. There'll also be tabs at the top that will change depending where you are. So this is what it looks like on the daily note. You should be used to this, but if I open up one of my notes, it looks a bit different, and if I have tasks in a note, it looks different again, and it just updates based on where you are. If there are too many things to show in a tab, it will go to this drop-down menu like with web links, which now have so many features. And you should also find that when you're interacting with media, be it images or PDFs, that it works a lot better and more reliably than before. We have also improved the editing experience as well. So entering text should be smoother, and all of the formatting options now sit in this floating bar above the keyboard as well. Everything is still there, and you can still edit your blocks. You need to tap and hold, and that will bring up this menu and you can scroll to find what you need. The left sidebar looks more modern. It still has everything you need, so you can switch spaces, switch light mode to dark mode, and access your settings, and all of your sections are here as well, so that of course syncs with whatever you have on your other devices. We've also improved the search. It's its own window now, so it's not just like half over any of your notes, and you'll see that it has replaced the history icon that we had on mobile before, and you can see everything you've recently opened today or before, and of course you can search for everything there. Whilst the mobile app has had a massive revamp, underneath everything is as you would expect it to be. So full text search still works offline once everything has been downloaded. It's just that it's packaged in a prettier app and a more reliable one too. We've also improved the look of the AI chats. So all chats are saved by default. They have been for a few releases now, but you can search them on mobile and start them again. And you'll also note that it has a new look as well. This matches what you'll see on desktop. We've just pulled it over to mobile as well. There's obviously a lot of changes here with the mobile app itself, but we've also improved the kind of infrastructure around it. So we recently released a brand new share sheet experience, which is more reliable. So if I head to our documentation and I want to save this link to Capacities, I can tap 3 dots, share, Capacities, and this is the new share sheet experience. You can add your own notes if you'd like, but I'll just keep it simple for now and show you what it does. There we go, open the daily note, and that is there with the note that I added. On top of this, we have also released a range of widgets, and with them you can customize your home screen to whatever you need. So I'll scroll through them so you can see what we have, but there's quite a range here, so there should be something for you. Now, as I get to the end, you're going to get a spoiler for something that isn't available yet, but if you're on the Believer tier, you'll be hearing about this very soon. But you can see that there's a range of things. So I'm going to add quick access to the daily note, and I'm also going to pin an object for quick access. So if you hold down and press edit widget, you can choose which one you want. I'll choose my current reading challenge, and then of course when you tap them, you open those relevant pages, and it opens so much faster than it did before because of the changes we've been making behind the scenes. And that is not everything. We have better share sheet, we have the new widgets, and if you tap on shortcuts, you'll also see a range of actions here. Again, ignore the spoiler for the recording things, but there are still some other options that you have as well. So for example, I can tap on new task and that will load the task edition, and I can just add it right there. With these shortcuts, you can of course add them to the bottom bar of your phone, which makes adding content to Capacities even faster. So as mentioned, many changes here. I recommend just updating the app and exploring, and hopefully you have a great experience. So yes, there have been a lot of changes to the mobile app, and we're really excited to hear your response to them. However, we're never just working on one thing. Release 68 also brings some long-awaited features to the AI in Capacities and some extra power to the AI chat connectors and the API. Lewis is going to walk you through all of those next.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, I will be going over a few updates to our API, our MCP, and also the AI assistant within the application. So let's just go right into it. For the API, we've added 3 new endpoints following user feedback. So now you will be able to list objects via structure, via tag, and via collections. These are just very common endpoints to just fetch the entire list of content meeting whatever criteria you have, like in this case, for instance, via object type. So I could say, okay, return me all of my media objects. This is now doable via the structure endpoint. Same with tag and same with collections, pretty straightforward. And of course, since we have updated the API to have these new endpoints, we also updated our MCP to be able to do exactly the same thing. So if you have an LLM application connected to our MCP, you'll now have these tools available. So also, when it comes to the MCP, we now finally have an official Claude connector. So now if you're using Claude, you can basically go to Browse Connectors, search for Claude, search for capacity, sorry about that, and you'll find us listed there. So this is just a more handy way and more official way of just adding connection to our MCP. And you no longer have to configure the whole custom connector setup within Claude. So that's it when it comes to the MCP and API updates. I will now go over to the AI assistants, and there's a ton to go over there. First of all, we've added this new Explore tab. So this is basically the point of entry to the assistant. Of course, you still have access to it via the side panel, but this is just a more, let's say, unified way of going through all of your existing chats and just navigating the experience with the AI. We have basically added enough functionality so that the AI assistant within the app is on par to whatever experience you might be having already with the MCP. So some examples, you can now create tasks, you can create any objects as well, you can create queries, and this would be basically the equivalent to the listing endpoints. You can also open new content or modify objects. So in this case, I was modifying the tag. What's important here is that every time you carry out any writing modifications, so adding content or creating new objects or updating them, you'll get a summary below the response so that you can basically see that everything has been modified to whatever you were describing or hoping to achieve with that prompt. Also, when you're creating things, so let's just do a small example here. Let's just say create a new trip object for our offsite in Newcastle in October. So just going through the whole workflow here, you'll see that we have an explicit approval from the user requirement. So of course the AI now is understanding what the object type shape of my trip objects are so that it knows how to create it. And you'll see here that when it's trying to create the objects, is basically saying, okay, you need to approve it. So I can see a small preview here, and then, okay, everything makes sense, I like it. I could deny it, of course, and then the AI assistant also gets the context that the user has explicitly denied this creation, and it could try to, create it another way, depending on your prompt, or just giving up on the action itself. But in this case, I like how it looks, so I'll just click on approve, and then it will finally draft up the final response and give it to me. And of course, as I said earlier, you have access to whatever edits were made. If I'm asking it to create several other trips, so I could now, for instance, use the internet access and say, look up the most visited countries, let's say the 3 most visited countries, and create other trip objects for each of them, just to showcase how it looks like when you're doing things in bulk. All right, and now it's requesting that I create 3 new trips, so whatever it's decided that I should be visiting based on my request, I could click on approve all, so I don't need to go individually each by one. And the full point here is that me as the user have the authority to specify what gets created or modified within my space every time I'm doing something that will modify the content of it. So I could just say approve all here, and then it will draft the final response as it did before. Also, of course, this is right next to all of the functionality that we already had, but this is in combination with the web search, this is in combination with node search, and all of the functionality that we already had available within the AI assistant. So that just comes in very handy. We've also added a few new things in the UI, of course, apart from the Explore tab. You will now be able to check how many tokens you're consuming here right from the chat by just putting your cursor on top of it. And then we also added auto mode, which is a way of telling our servers to select the best model for whatever your prompt was or whatever your conversation is. And that way you don't need to worry about which model you need to select. We'll just try to be as efficient as possible with your budget. But of course, if you want to continue selecting whatever model you want, then you'll be able to have access to it right here from the chat. Of course, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but we're working to bring the latest and greatest models to everyone. So yeah, this will probably come out in a later release. We're still testing, and we would like to give everyone more choices when it comes to the budget within capacities. So stay tuned for that. Have fun with the assistant. And if you have any feedback to give us, please use the open channels to do so. And as always, hope you enjoyed this release.